Fuck. Okay, this video is called What Atheists Don't Want You to Hear. Dr. Ahmed, or is it Ahmed? Whatever. Um, I believe this is the Your Dad's Sperm guy. And he has like a 3,704 dislike to 220 like ratio. Brother Ahmed exposes the false logic of non-postmodern atheists. Alright, let's see what he has to say. And what the hell is with this, like, this next feature? I really hate that, you know. Makes it more difficult to pause the video.
Alright, so the big yet irrelevant and pointless question, does God exist? And I find this question to be somewhat hypocritical. Because
Hypocritical. let's let's hear that line of reasoning.
disproving the existence of God
In quotes.
comes from the same logic as disproving the existence of man.
Well,
Now, if someone came to you and tried to convince you that they don't exist, they said, I'm actually on Mars, and I have these Martians that have plugged me into the Matrix, or they have these probes in my head, and they're making me think all of these crazy things. What do you think of this guy?
you'd think he's lying, obviously, because he's coming up to you and saying this, and he's saying it without credibility and without convincingness. If he really came up to you and he was believing this, he'd act like a sporadic, irrational, insane person. Okay, if he was like that, you'd think he was crazy and you wouldn't think he's lying, because you'd think he's so convincing. So you'd therefore assume that he's insane and actually believes this. But because someone come up to you and just say that, so you wouldn't believe it. Now, is there a possibility that's true? Perhaps. That doesn't mean anything, though. You know, I don't get what you're getting out of this.
You think this guy's completely lost it? This guy needs to go. This guy needs to seek
I would
some medical
actually
help.
assume he's
He
lying.
needs to go to the loony bin, whatever it may be. You have to stay away from the guy. The whole shebang. So why don't we think the same way when someone questions the existence of God?
It's a good question. The main reason being that enough people validate it by circle jerk mentality. That's the main reason. People aren't going to get locked up for it or put in a padded cell because other people, you know, they give it credibility by also believing it. So they can't lock them all up, and it makes it more valid to them. Since I don't believe anything else, other people don't. The sheer numbers of it is what is practically an argument.
Now, people attempt to prove their own existence by something called empiricism. And that is by the belief that senses are like an absolute truth. So if you can see it, you can hear it, touch
No one says that. You know, that if you can see, hear, and touch it, people know that those things are not necessarily true. You know, that what you see and feel is not necessarily real. Okay, you can't actually trust your senses because they distort it sometimes. You know, the most reliable tool you can rely on is thought, because you can think devoid of senses.
it, smell it, hear it, all of these sort of things, taste it, it exists. So they say, I can see, I can hear, therefore I exist. But what about your dreams? I mean, in a dream, can't you see, hear?
Yes, but those things exist in your mind. That means they do exist, as in the same way that those other things exist. You have to understand what existence is. You know, something existing just means in some form. Just because you hear someone say "fuck you" in a dream doesn't mean anyone actually said "fuck you." But the triggered area in your brain that makes you feel like it was said is the same signal as if it was real. It's just as real in that situation. It's just a different thing triggering the source. It doesn't make it any less real. It just means that it doesn't reflect external realness. It's an internal realness.
Sometimes taste. Or what about when someone's in the desert and they have a hallucination?
Same
They're incredibly
concept.
thirsty and it's very, very hot. They begin to see these streams of water. Does the water actually exist?
It exists in their mind. And because it exists there and that's real in a capacity, in a sense, it does exist. It's just not tangible. You know, it's externally tangible.
Did the dream actually take place?
It did take place because experience exists in the mind.
It's
It
Obviously
just
not.
didn't
You don't
tangibly
need to sit
happen
there questioning it.
outside of your
So
body.
if you're going to attempt to prove your existence by empiricism, by the senses, then you have to either now say that the dreams or that the hallucinations actually took place and was actually existent, or
I do
that
say that.
dreams didn't actually take place and the hallucination wasn't actually existent
It's
and
just
was
they're
made by
not tangibly
imagination.
externally real. They're your experiences. No one else can experience them but you, and you can talk about them. But that doesn't. They're not real in the sense that when people like die or whatever, and they talk about their experience in death. It's real because it was sensory information in their brains. That doesn't mean that what they were seeing was true of reality itself. When people talk like, I saw these like glowing things coming out of us and we were connected or some stupid shit like that. It's real in that they saw it and that it was in some way tangibly inside their brain that actually did occur. That's true. It existed in a sense, but to suggest and to infer that that's how reality is based on an experience that's internal is false and stupid. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen, okay? When you define what happen is, as something that occurs, it doesn't necessarily have to occur externally. It can occur just in your head. You can create an entire, imagination wonderland. It doesn't mean it's not real, because imagination is real, okay? It is a tangible thing. It's memory in your brain. It is tangible. It's just not externally tangible.
And so therefore you can't be using senses to prove your existence because you'd find yourself contradicting yourself. Now there's many philosophers who have spent, for the most part, the majority of their lives attempting to prove the existence of man. And for the most part, they cannot do so.
You do realize that this applies to
The
your
most
own reasoning, right? If you rely on your senses to see God's evidence, that means that it's also the same problem. You dumb fuck.
logical answer that they've come towards proving the existence of man is the quote by Rene Descartes in his book The Meditations, where he says, I think, therefore I am. Now let me tell you the contradiction in this statement. If you know anything about the world of mathematics and proof by induction, attempting to prove something, for example the existence in this case, it's a complete no-no to begin with an assumption that you already exist. I'll tell you what I mean. I think, therefore I am. You've begun the statement with I. I assumes existence. So you cannot prove existence whilst also assuming that you exist. It's contradictory. Now, does that mean that we don't exist? Does that mean that you're
Of
not?
course, it doesn't mean we don't exist. It just means we can't know it. It's an assumption. And I actually agree with that. That you do have to assume that you exist in order to be making the claim. And you're using your own body to try and say that the evidence is all true from a vessel which perhaps does not exist. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that it's any argument for religion.
Mother, father, brother, sister don't exist?
I don't understand how
Of
you
course
can
you do.
simultaneously be so rational and stupid at the same time.
Of course you exist. I exist. We exist. But we don't need to spend any time into these completely trivial matters because it's not logical to do so. It's self-evident that me and you and him and her, they exist.
The fact that it's self-evident doesn't prove it, though. That's the whole point of what you just fucking said, that you're seeing it through in the same way that you don't know your dreams are tangibly externally true. You don't know that you are, okay? Because you're using the very thing that isn't potentially hypothetically true to prove its own existence. You just explained why that's fallacious. To assume you exist is perfectly reasonable because you seem to, and that's enough. But to assert that you know, as you said, is not logical. So how can you assert that you know God is true because you're using your faulty vessel, hypothetically, to do that? So like it doesn't matter if your vessel is true or not. The fact that you can't know it means you can't know anything else that you would come to the conclusion of either, which means you can't know God either, you idiot.
I mean, you don't need to spend any time in that point. Now, you probably didn't even question your own existence until this video. And if you did beforehand, you probably just would have tried to just get rid of it like that. Just thought it's a stupid thought. And the reason for that is because it's illogical. And the same thing would have happened for the existence of
Just
God
more
if
assertions.
you didn't get affected by this disease of atheism.
Another assertion that atheism is a disease. Your whole video's titled this, but you haven't even validated this notion at all. If anything's a disease, it's something. I don't even want to call it a disease. I prefer to call it a virus. It's something that spreads from person to person and is infectious. Okay, that's fucking religion. If atheism is only a virus in that it spreads from person to person using reason, my reason spreads to yours, and it infects it.
And so why don't you question your own existence? And why do you question the existence of God? Now, the only way that anything makes sense, and I'll wrap up with this, the only way that anything makes sense is through the belief that you, the viewer of this video, exist. And if you
That's
take that
true.
belief away, then anything ceases to have any value or meaning.
What?
Now, similarly, the only way that anything has any value or meaning is through the existence of God. And if you
That's just another assertion. What the fuck are you talking about? The fact that nothing has value if I don't exist is true because everything, essentially, if it exists through our lens, if hypothetically it doesn't exist if we don't, I mean, it could, but you can't prove it if we don't. It's true. But you see God through your human vessel, which means if you're not real, everything you saw,
take
not
that belief
necessarily wasn't real, but it's unverifiably. It's a presumption. It's
away,
meaningless.
then absolutely everything and anything becomes completely irrelevant and meaningless.
On some level, that might be true, but you can derive your own fucking meaning out of your own life because it is yours.
So you have two options. You've got two options. You either believe that God exists, and as a result of
False
that,
dichotomy.
exist, or you question your own existence.
I do question my own existence. I do. I tend to live my life as if I exist because it's more convenient, but I do question my own existence, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everything should be questioned. You know, God exists, therefore man exists. You can't know God exists because you use your vessel, which theoretically doesn't exist, to prove it. So even if there was tangible 100%, even if God talked to me, and I knew he was real, and everyone else could see it too, it still wouldn't prove it because I'm seeing it, and I don't know that I am in order to see it to be true. Even then, that reasoning would apply, and therefore you still couldn't know God was real, you idiot. Anything you have to know through the vessel of being a human being is theoretically not verifiable. Because even if you prove it, you're proving it through you, and if theoretically you don't exist, it therefore not necessarily doesn't exist, but cannot be definitively proven to. So just shut up.
Now, which one for you is more logical?
The second one, obviously. Questioning your own existence, like everything else. Questioning everything is rational. Questioning is not a bad thing. You're trying to shame it and shun it. Like, say, we know the answer, so shut the fuck up. How do you know your existence just because you know God? That doesn't make any sense. If you were never questioning your own existence in the first place, like you're just trying to get out of that line of reasoning. So you've conned yourself into believing this stupid bullshit. That's what it seems to me. You just want easy answers to difficult questions, and it's bullshit. And I'm done. Fuck off.